I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
And that little girl was me.
You know, this my little thing. If you should ask for custody if the child is in danger and she's not fit to be a mother, right? And you have direct proof to verify that. Do not use a child as a pawn.
What the impacts of slavery, of what racism, what capitalism has done to Black people. So for him to have this opportunity to really give a moment to say, you are correct, we must figure out a way to understand Black people today. Instead, he laughed at him and made it a novelty and said, you really drank the Kool-Aid. So.
Yeah. This is also about men trying to control the sexual desires and activities of their daughters because they want them to grow up to be a certain kind of woman. They want them to be domestic, they want them to be docile, they want them to be subservient, and they want them to be submissive, right? And so that is not, when you get a woman, that's a wild woman rising, you don't know what to do with her because she is not living out your narrative and you're not able to control her.
Well, let's be clear. I always tell people we have to be real mindful of the Hispanic culture because Hispanics come from different places. Two demographics of Hispanics that vote Republican. Pretty sure the Hispanic coalition in Florida that he's meeting with is predominantly Cuban and Venezuelan because those.
Can I buy a vinyl?
You know, can I buy a?
So well versed and so phenomenal. Whether you work on a register or you're in the C-suite, you have a skill set that's so needed that someone is willing to rent your time. They are leasing your time. Figure out your promise first, not your product. What is your promise?
And so when we're talking about facing challenges of people at high risk and targeted groups and minority population, it's trauma. So you got to think about what this person brings to the table. We're not always going to get it right. One thing that we as society don't want to appreciate anymore is apologizing. I apologize. I'm sorry. And so those words, I'm sorry, are so powerful. And so individuals don't expect everybody to get it right. But when you apologize and you're really listening to try to be better, then you do that.
Safely, when it's all said and done, the police is going to protect the state. And that is why the slaughter of Black bodies and Black people at the hands of the police is such an epidemic because they are trained and they commit to a training of policing.
So my book is about my struggle, but how I overcame it. And to let Black women know, and just women of all colors. And I'm not going to just say that it's just for Black women, but Black women, we need this. It's okay to say, I'm not okay. It's okay to go get help. If you can't have a child, that means your vagina is no better or no worse than the next person. Okay?
Well, welcome to Truth for Power. Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is me, the accountability specialist, Dr. Matthews. We have co-host Wendell King, the communication specialist. And then we also have the political consultant and specialist, Dean Snell, which is our other co-host. Aurelia is not in, the identity professor, but that's okay. We love you, girl. Share this video. It's about to go down. What's up, everybody?
What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? And again, congratulations to Aurelia. I'm sure she's like still trying to get herself together on becoming getting her doctorates. She's going to officially, when she comes on, be Dr. Aurelia Johnson.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Another one of our sisters that made it over.
Yes, PhD doctorate. She has her PhD. Yes. I mean, not to knock. I'm not knocking the foot specialist or nobody else. No, I'm not. We're not trying to compare. I'm just saying that I applaud her for her PhD. Dr. Matthews has her PhD, but it's not knocking EDDs and all that, because I ain't got none. I ain't got none of them. So I ain't got no PhD, no EDD, no JD. Like I'm just a JR.
I can get my JD.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to go for an ED or a PhD. So
I think in your lane though, EDD is your lane though, right?
Yeah, but when we go the policy route in education, they tend to, you can either go either way. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I definitely see you going into administration.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
So a PhD probably would be a better route for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, we can do either one though.
Yeah, because I don't want to stay in the school. I don't want to stay in the school. I want to move.
Well, that's another reason why PhD would be a better move.
Right. That's why I'm like, I think that's why I'm leaning more towards this PhD, because I'm like, I want to do so much more than just, I'm just
right.
Well, I think I'm gonna go to seminary.
Yeah.
Find me a weekend seminary.
Let me know when you get that, so I'll go too. We can both walk out of there with
okay. I'm where y'all and say I got a DD, baby.
Oh, the PhD.
I'm from the north side, baby. I got a DD. What's up? So what's been going on?
Well, first of all, I'm still on, it's been a lot in the news that's been happening, right? So did you guys take a look at, the man with the substance and decency that went viral with Biden? Did y'all check that out?
Oh yeah, the video where Biden was with the kid, with the child. Yeah. Another decency video. I'll let Brother Dean take the lead on that.
I mean, we know Joe Biden is a decent man. I mean, I'm kind of tired of the whole he's decent. Yeah, at this point, anybody, anybody from the Democratic,
we here, yeah.
Anybody from the Democratic Party that would have, you could have put up there, would have been more decent than this man. So I mean, but we have that video, right?
Let's roll the beautiful being footage, Dr. G.
Yeah.
Who the parents?
Yeah.
I'm white. I'm Chris Hickson's wife.
God love you.
I wanted to. Okay. This is Chris's son.
I'm his son. Well, how are you? Good. Thank you for hugging me. You okay? You okay? You'll be okay. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. I promise. Okay, I promise.
I'm not gonna lie, that touched me.
But if that would have been number 45 would have made fun of that poor baby. That man on that had the little handicap.
Yeah, I think 45 would have probably not even it would have been a completely different thing if it was 45. I feel like it would have been like one of those moments for him.
Yeah. When he went up to 45, he'd be like, coronavirus.
But let's unpack it correctly though. First off, 45 has he's a germaphobe, so he wasn't gonna go down the aisle, especially with a black woman right there. But away from that, what happened in that video. Now I had not taken the time to look at that one. That wasn't a kid. That was actually, I remember that one. That was an adult, and he suffered from MS. And he kind of like, Joe Biden was walking off. That's why this one is going viral. He was gone. He was leaving, and the boy was screaming, "I want to shake his hand too." And so Joe Biden stopped when he heard him, and he turned around to go. But this was not like a child. This was an adult that is suffering from mental illness. So that touched me.
In front of an adult that had a disability.
Huh?
I said 45 had made a joke several times.
Several. But the handicapped man was the one in the wheelchair is the one you were talking about.
Yes.
When he literally made fun of him.
He was a journalist, right?
Yeah, he was a journalist.
And I think he stuff from was it not? I don't want to mess up the term.
I know it was a disability that
he gave me a little like Down syndrome, but I don't know. But whatever it was, he was the one with the hand and all of that, and he was in a wheelchair. And Donald Trump like completely made a novelty of it. But Joe Biden is just a decent guy. But I'm with Dean. Like, I'm glad this one is a good one because this was recent. Now that I've seen it, I know that this was the one that was just like last week. So it's recent, but I'm with Dean. Like, we have to stop minimizing Joe Biden to just being a decent guy. You know, he also comes with bags of experience that must be acknowledged. And that's kind of like the media kind of like, they plays off of this decency thing because Donald Trump is such a barbarian, but he's more than just decent. We have to start doing that. Like, a black woman don't want to just get married because she's a black woman. She wants to get married because of all the accolades that she's accomplished and by being a black woman. So we can't just, remove everything else.
Right.
And I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I feel like, we know Joe Biden is a good guy. We know that he's always been like that. He's one of those people. He's almost like rest in peace, John Lewis, but he's like John Lewis. Like, he won't leave somewhere until he's kind of spoken to as many people as he possibly can. Like at the what was it, the town hall? He didn't get to answer so many questions. He only got to answer a few questions on TV, but he stayed there, I think, an extra hour just to watch, just to talk to people.
Oh yeah, his last town hall,
and just to answer questions. That just shows you that he has a passion for what he does, and it just, like you said, we know he's a decent person, but besides him being a decent person, this shows that he actually listens to the people, and what he takes from those people, sometimes he puts into policy, or he tries to put in policy.
But one thing that I do like about Joe Biden that I can honestly say is that he accepts accountability. You know what I mean? He will be actually easy to work with dealing with accountability because he doesn't think he knows it all. And whatever that he doesn't know, he will be open. I mean, that's the feel that I get from.
That's important. That's
very important.
And let's be honest, he's one of those people that he takes accountability, which is a great thing. And like he said, I'm not going to be trying to make decisions based off of just, off of me. I'm going to try to make the best decisions off of the people who are specialists at that particular, whatever it is that we're going through at that time. I'm not going to be looking for, these rich people to surround these yes men like we have with the president that we have now. It's a bunch of yes men. Right, what we need right now is someone who's going to be in office that's going to be able to listen to those people who have expertise in that field, and who's going to be able to talk to him and help him make the best decision for the people.
Absolutely. So then that kind of leads into the 1994 crime bill. I am like so tired of them beating this like a dead horse. The man made it very clear. The certain section that they're beating like a dead horse. Hey, it was a bad idea. Hey, I messed up. Hey, I took ownership of it. And I guarantee that that's not going to happen again. Let it go already.
Right. And the bad thing is that the bill in totality helped so many people out. It helped women who were, victims of domestic violence. Because prior to that, it wasn't, if you got beat up by your husband or your boyfriend, it wasn't really a big deal. like
Come
that, or if
on.
you're a man and you got beat up by, you know, your girlfriend. So it helped with domestic violence. And I think people kind of forget that what our community, because it's I know it's a lot of African Americans that's talking about it, but I'm like, you got to remember what was going on in our communities, and it was plenty of Black people that was like, we need to get these people off the street. So that's why I'm looking at, you know, people like, you know, back in the you know, the early 90s, y'all act like y'all wasn't screaming, you know, let's get these people off the street who's breaking into my home every 2 days, or you know, all of the gang violence that was going on. And you can't fault Joe Biden. Joe Biden created a bill. The bill was, you know, I'm not gonna say ominous, but it was pretty open. The people that took the bill were those people that were those state and local officials and those judges who took the bill and expounded on sentences. They took that and they created a monster out of it. So the original bill in its entirety was something that was supposed to help. I just wish they would have with the whole crack cocaine thing, kind of like what they did with opioids, you know, recently. I wish that would have been in the bill as well. But again, we're looking at the 90s, and not a lot of people. We're looking at the 90s who was being impacted by it. And for
Well, the main people you see crying about are people that was born in 99 and after. Right. So the people that are really complaining about it are the people that were literally not affected by it at all. And that's something that I'm so sick of with this culture. We live in a culture where people are taking on crosses that were already burned and bringing them back to life just to make themselves feel good about what they are not. And I have so many issues with that. But Dean covered it so well, like you both just covered it, because Dr. Matthews is 100% correct. This man has apologized 3,000 damn times at this point.
And
like,
took accountability.
Yeah. So there's absolutely nothing he's gonna say to make you feel better, because you don't want to hear it. You don't want to accept an apology from him. It's not that he's not apologizing. It's not that he's not taking accountability. It's just that you don't want to accept it. The other part of that is there was a reason for the bill. We don't like to accept those things because we don't like taking accountability for those times, right? This is not like slavery, when people were literally drugged and brought to a whole nother land and forced to build, right? That was slavery. The Crime Act bill was, these were Negroes, essays, and white boys that were completely doing wrong. Now, we know that it came from systemic racism. We know that the drugs was placed in those communities by the government, mainly by the police systems. We understand all of that. But it still doesn't take away what those of us who were raised in the 90s had to deal with every day. Some of us in our own homes. That is just a reality. The other part of that is they like to beat him up as a Democrat, but people forget that the 3 strikes law, part of the Crime Act bill, was a checks and balance for the DARE, Just Say No to Drugs legislation that Nancy Reagan championed under a Republican administration, which was her husband, Ronald Reagan. And with that, they had Black men and Black women, Mexican men, Mexican women being placed in jail on their first charge for 50 years, 75 years. It was ridiculous. So in 1991 is when Joe Biden was the one that said, we need to do something about this to try and give a standard to these judges. The mistake he made was the 3 strikes law was not explicit in detail, like Dean just said. It did not have enough details. It did not carry enough issues, and that's where the mistake lies. But the after-school program was given birth from that. I was one of those people that was in the after-school program that made it possible that my mother could pick me up when she got off work, because I was at school thinking I was having a good time, because I was going to a music class, and I went to a little dance class, and I went to an art class, and this was after school. They had snacks and all, and we didn't pay anything. That was a part of that bill. And then Dean posed a really good point that I forgot about. The gay bashing became a huge deal in the Black community in the early 90s. Under that Crime Act bill, they actually had LGBTQ rights were first pretty much initiated in that bill. Yeah. So there is so much within that 44 to 49 page bill, other than the 2 pages that was a part of the 3 strikes law.
You already know they're going to hit the bad things to try to drag this man down. And let's just be clear, while y'all over here trying to bring up that specific bill that you're beating like a dead horse, let's talk about 45 and what he's doing now.
That's I think that's our biggest. A lot of us, our biggest issue is that you're talking about 1994 and the crime bill, but we don't even go back into that time where Donald Trump put out a whole ad as a citizen,
just a regular citizen,
to have 5 young boys, young black and brown boys, given the death penalty. He wanted to bring back the death penalty. And
he was mad.
He was mad.
He put millions of dollars in. If you can bring us some proof, because we need to get these boys. And he was just a regular guy on the street that had money to blow. So that is a very valid point. That he was not even in office, and he made it his business. But he's also the man that settled out of court in 1975 $1 million because he didn't want to allow black people to move into his property in New York. This is the same guy.
So, and that was when he did that as far as with the funding with the Central Park 5.
Central Park 5, yes.
Mm.
That was the Central Park 5 situation, and that was in the 90s too, but nobody not bringing that up, which is a big issue.
Actually, it hit New York Times in 1989, to be more specifically, is when he first put it out there, and he didn't remove it to 1991, so he kept it out for 2 years, trying to get them. And he was just a regular Joe Blow. Like, he was just a regular Joe Blow, and he wanted to see black boys in jail. You idiots.
But with this crime bill, I was also happy that Al Sharpton came to the forefront.
Yes.
What was in the bill, what he originally put in the bill, got tainted by Republicans when it kept, because back then we had what we call bipartisanship. So in order to get your bill passed, you had the other side. You worked with the other side. And it's just like what happened with with
the Heroes Act.
Yeah, you put something out there, you get the other side to put their little tidbits, just like you said,
for their buy-in.
Right, for their buy-in. The 3 strikes rules. I'm thankful for the 3 strikes rule, to be honest. Once I kind of read, because I was like, they really were throwing black men inside of prisons for 5, 10, 15, 20 years for their first their first little incident.
Yeah.
So you really
had it not been for the Crime Act bill, like anybody that know me personally know that I do a lot. Like as a child, I did a lot. And so people are always like, how did you have time for all of that? Because of the after school program. And that's in real life. Like I learned how to play trombone, bass guitar, and the saxophone through after school programs. Like I lived because I was bored. Because my mama had to work, right? I had a single mother and she was at work. And so I had to keep my ass because my sister is significantly older than me. So that was the babysitter. That was free. All right. That's what's up. Like it is what it is.
After school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned tap dancing, jazz dancing, free food. And I learned how to play the flute.
You learned Pilates and after school sing.
We learned karate
and we had Girl Scouts.
Yep. So until I got a little older, and then I started to play park football, in which the coaches came to pick me up because my mom was always at work. But I'm like, it's people really need to dig into the crime bill. What they do is they take these talking points from the news media or from some insignificant person who probably saw 2 YouTube videos and was like, ooh, or this is just their reason not to vote Joe Biden or get upset with a white man. To be completely honest, like we don't want this. We don't want, and it's like at the end of the day, you cannot get. These people. Everybody makes mistakes throughout their lives. You want people to, when you make a mistake, you want people to kind of take you up and give you a hug. But somebody that made a mistake a long time ago, and in essence, the bill wasn't even that big of a mistake. The people that benefited from the bill are people that y'all still voting for in state and elections.
Because the people who actually did the harm are the ones we don't talk about. It was the judges that were abusing the 3 strikes law that were the problem. Joe Biden didn't tell them how long to put them in jail. That was part of the issue, is that he did not give maximums in that legislation.
That's normally how it goes.
Yeah, but they are the issue.
They'll give you the infrastructure, but then you'll go around and abuse it.
Exactly.
That's
but
Dean Dean really hit it on the head also because about how people just want to be mad, right? I had an argument this week. Well, not an argument, but a small conversation with someone this weekend. Okay, it was an argument. This guy that was a huge Bernie Sanders fan, and he literally said to me and some others, I'm just tired of, I don't want Joe Biden, but I'm going to vote for him, but I'm just sick of us. Why do we always have to grab an old white man? And I looked at him and I said, that's funny. You wanted an old white man 3 months ago. And he couldn't do anything but laugh because it showed him, it forced him to realize that you just want to be pissed off. Because you said your only problem with him is that he's an old white man, but yet you were crying in the trenches fighting for another old white man that was a Jew. One is a Catholic, one's a Jew. What's the difference? You know, like, come on. What's up?
Really? They both old.
They both old. And
let's make this the last time that we vote for anybody that's over 65, because right now we need people that's younger, that's going to actually bring some type of progress. Because
I can't say that. I can't agree to that.
No, I'm at a point where we should be done with the baby boomer generation.
Well, okay, so if you gonna say that, well, what you feel about this Supreme Court justice that was appointed then?
And she's under 65. And that's a good. Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If I was with you, I'd pinch you. That was such a good one because let me tell you something. We have to stop ageism. We have to stop this because the same thing that we hate when old people say we are still wet behind the ears, we're doing the exact same thing when we're saying they're too old. I don't look at age. I look at I look at professionalism. I look at, are you seasoned? Do you know what you're doing? Are you passionate? Is your heart in the right place? I don't care if you're 18 or 81. If you are passionate about the job and I can trust and I feel that we're going in the same direction, but we have to stop the ageism thing. Now, I do believe that 70 and 75 is where I draw the line, but that's not because I don't trust them. It's just I feel like you can die. I hate to say it, but Ruth Bader is a good example of that. Like, I hate to say it, but
I feel like right now we should be passing the mantle on to younger people or training them. Like, at this point, people being in Congress for 30, 40 years, it's like, okay,
But we are training, but they are being trained. But they are being trained because AOC is how old?
But it's time for people. But AOC had to get her position. She had to run against the person that didn't even want to give up the seat.
But AOC was giving it on a platter because she had no credentials that said she deserved it, other than she knew how to go trendy like Donald Trump. But the reason I'm saying that is because Joe Biden walked into office when he was 28. Nancy Pelosi was 31. Like, these people were young when they walked in. So it's unfair to make it seem as though their age is a problem, because the reality is if you are in your profession and it's what you love doing, you're going to be there. I know pastors that are celebrated for preaching at the same church for 50 years. Dr. Freeman, I love him to death, but he was worshiped because he was doing his thing for over 65 years. So why is it with politicians we want to put a time limit on them? We have to be fair with that.
I mean, I ain't putting a time limit.
They need to train people.
Right now, they should be getting ready to pass the mantle on to the next.
But they are.
Before you can pass that on, you need to be able to have a predecessor, someone that you can. If something happens to you, they can transition right on in. I get it, but
we're talking like Ayanna Presley is not alive. Il Omar is not alive. AOC is not alive. Like, we're acting like these people don't exist.
Say that, and
I'm not saying that at all.
But we have to do the work. But what I'm saying is that you have to do the work. So I don't want a 21-year-old just because they're 21. And another part of that is you're skipping over. No, but you're skipping over a whole my generation, which is I'm Generation X, you're a millennial, right? So you're forgetting that we here. We want it, we want in too. Give me a high five.
Wait, I didn't say my generation. I just said younger people.
But the way this goes to the SCOTUS, is Amy Coney Barrett is a younger person. She is Generation X, right? But her mindset is still very baby boomer or older, right? So age is not necessarily connected to progression, is what I'm saying.
I said,
like, and then AOC is the issue for me because I disagree with lots of her stuff.
Yeah, but even the conservatives on the other side, I feel like it's time for them to move forward too, and pass on them. I feel like because it's some. I look at Mitch McConnell, almost old as dust. You know, Nancy Pelosi is older, and yes, I love Nancy Pelosi, but I'm just
81.
You're getting to that age now where it's like, how much longer do you have to go, like for your own health and benefit though? Because
I think Ruth Bader, I agree with that because Ruth Bader is a great example.
Yeah,
well, the predicament we're in with Barrett, Coney Barrett, is because of Ruth Bader not wanting to retire or resign early. So I understand. I do think that there has to be a cutoff, but I think that we have to stop always saying. I just don't want us to get into this ageist thing because when we do that, it's completely unfair because everything we say that we dislike about older people when they say it about young people, we do it to them. I'm not gonna base it on them, but let's unpack Barrett, Coney Barrett. Let's really just get into not just her, but the whole Supreme Court thing. How do you all feel about the pressure that Joe Biden has been forced to deal with as far as this? So let's take a look at this. So we know that she was sworn in last night by Rasmus.
I'm looking to see if he gonna end up with a COVID case.
Well, my fingers are crossed. I'm not gonna say in which direction. I just whatever it is, I just hope it go fast. Take him fast, no pain. But
you know, he's in that age range. He's in that, and he's the most. For him to be African American, he's what they say he's the most right leaning judge on the whole Supreme Court. I'm all. I keep talking about it.
But this is where age. Yeah. But this is where age doesn't. But this is where age has nothing to do with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas was the same way when he was 45.
Right.
So he didn't become. Yeah, he didn't become this person at old age. He's always been. So that's why I'm saying you have young people. Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that young people doesn't guarantee forward thinking. It doesn't guarantee progressiveness just because you're young, because these people were young before. As far as Nancy, people forget Nancy did not ask for that. Like she's been Speaker of the House before. She was the first female Speaker of the House back in the 90s, I think. And then she went decades without it, and they brought her back. And be clear, they brought her back and asked her to run. The Democratic Party wanted her to run for Speaker of the House because of her strength and her tenacity when she was the Speaker of the House before, and which made her the second time a female was Speaker of the House, and it was the same woman that was the first time. So that was more of an honor, and it was because of her tenacity and her power, what she could do as a judge, as an attorney.
To be clear, I have no issue with the old people because I know.
You sure?
I feel like that's where he's going, and I don't have an issue with the old people. I just have this mindset that at some point in time we have to start making our elected officials, no matter how progressive or conservative they are, they have to start looking like the rest of the country. It's just like what I posted on my status about the Supreme Court. I was like, if we do win the Senate, House, and the presidency, I want to see a 15 court Supreme Court. I want to see 3 women, 2 more women of color and a white woman. I want to see an LGBTQ judge, and I want to see a person that's of faith. I also want to see a black man, and I want that black man to be Barack Obama.
Well, let's really unpack. Go, Doc. We unpacking the Supreme Court now. Go, Doc.
We was because I was going to the next thing.
No, we haven't unpacked the Supreme Court.
I want that. That's what I want.
Well, I like everything that Dean said except for Barack. I don't want Barack to be on the Supreme Court. I want him to. I think that he's fine as a former president, the first black. He can go down in history because he can make a lot of money doing that, like he's already done. He's made millions of dollars since he walked out the White House. So while we was talking about Donald Trump for 3.5 years, Barack been sliding in that bank account for 3.5 years. Him and Michelle, they have eased on up the Soul Train line. But the reason I don't want it is because we are still doing the same thing, right? Like we're still praising. He's gotten enough praise. Let's find another black man. There's another black man that is deserving, that has earned that. Like, let's find another black man and let's go real young, right? With
as
the
long as
SCOTUS, with
David Cameron, I'm fine with that.
yeah, but with the Supreme Court, let's go real young. That's who the Republicans put up just to tell us to kiss their asses. But we should go real young.
I feel like if Clarence was to go, that's who the Republicans would have put up on that Supreme Court would have been David Cameron. I feel like that's the reason why he did all of that with that whole Breonna Taylor thing, because he was one of the people that was on the on that short list of
Supreme he was on the short list, but it was like Ted Cruz was on there too, so we know that short list was full. But when we talk about unpacking the court, because that's what Dean was talking about, how he would unpack it as far as adding Latinx, adding LGBTQ, adding another black man, adding this. And I think that all of that makes sense. But I was very, very caught off guard with this Washington Post op-ed that was specifically about unpacking the Supreme Court in a different way. And that was impeachment, impeaching Clarence Thomas for things that he's done when he spoke out 2 weeks ago, when they're not, that's like the number one oath is they're not supposed to go public and speak out about things, right? So that was important that, so he could be impeached. And they talked about how another way of unpacking the Supreme Court could be creating a age limit, a maximum. You cannot exceed 65 or 70 years old, right? That's another way of canceling it out. And another way of doing it would be to add people to it. So under this op-ed, what they were saying is, since they are so big on keeping it at 9, if Biden wins, keep it at 9. But create standards, because it has to go to Congress. The House of Representatives have to vote on it. They're going to ride with Joe, right? So if they decide to do that, then if they do an age, let's say they do 65, that's going to cancel out 4 of the 9 right there. If they were to do 65, and that would mean Joe Biden would have to put 4 up, right? And so there are more ways to skin a cat, as my granny would say.
Yeah, there's more ways, but see, the problem is that Republicans, and I hate it that, when they say, Democrats are trying to pack the court, and I hate that sometimes Democrats don't go, don't throw back or throw a punch back and say, well, you guys been packing the courts since 2010. You guys been packing Mitch McConnell, like holding up federal judges since 2010, and then and packing those courts with,
and that's real.
And that's what was that, 4 years that 100 seats were open, 290.
But we're talking about, old boy has done, what did he do? I think Donald Trump has filled like 85 seats,
100
federal court.
120.
120?
100 to 120 federal. It was high.
And one of my coworkers, she did not know that. She was like, well, how are they saying that Amy never tried a case? And I was like, oh, you don't understand how that goes when you're on the federal court. You're just sitting and waiting. Like your job is just to write a lot of op-eds, write a lot of opinions. And, you're being paid good money to just chill. Like, that's why she was able, sis was over at Notre Dame teaching, because she was on chill mode. Yeah.
She'll just get a check from the school and a check from the federal government. Yeah. And if nobody sends anything up to your court, then you just really just there. And I don't think it really went towards her court. So, and I was like, when we talk about what's the word that our clear cousins like to say? What is it?
Y'all catch me off guard with these things. The clear cousin, I'm about to use that. You can't do that.
When black people get into universities, what is it called? Shoot, I can't think of the word.
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. I'm like, this is the biggest affirmative action I've ever seen in my life. And it was sad to me that these Republicans were pushing, the whole, you can't talk about her because she's a woman. Yeah, she a woman, but she's a non-qualified. I'm like, of all the women that you could have found that was qualified, you found this non-qualified woman. And if I was a Democrat, I would have pulled up the list. All of these women that have the qualifications, that have tried a case, that have been, that's been on the local level, and they were a lawyer and they did what they were supposed to do, because Amy Barrett Coney, whatever her name is. she came into her role by helping Bush in the 2000 election. She was one of her and what's the other guy's name? The one that
Roberts. His last name is Roberts.
Roberts was as well, and then the other guy that just got put onto the Supreme Court.
Kavanaugh.
All three of them worked.
I can't stand him.
All three worked on that 2000.
They all three worked on the 2000.
And all of them in the Supreme Court. Yeah, and they all had a part in making sure that those ballots didn't get counted.
Yeah.
Look what happened. They just did the same thing. But yesterday.
Well,
told the people from Wisconsin that was it the Supreme Court, Wisconsin Supreme Court, or was it?
This is why that was the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But this is where Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch, Mitt Romney fake ass, all of them except for Susan Collins, because Susan Collins, I was proud of her. She stuck to her guns. And she did not allow them to scare her, and she gave a statement saying just that it was unfair and they should have followed what they said they were going to do in 2016. But she already knows she's about to lose her election anyway, so it spoke a lot about her character to me, because she could have sided with them and said, y'all, I'm already losing anyway, but instead she said, you know what, this is just simply not right. So she gave me very Lincoln Project Republican in that moment,
but you know
which
what?
she's going to convert to.
I'm hoping that. That's why I'm hoping that they all get thrashed in this election. If this isn't showing, I'm constantly telling people, if this isn't showing you what's to come, and I think somebody was just talking about, I think somebody just wrote an op-ed, or I saw an article that was talking about how one of the executive orders that Trump just passed was basically going to be able to take funding from HBCUs.
Well, actually, I told y'all about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think because it had not really hit the mainstream news yet, and so it was like when I said it, people were looked at me like, I don't know if that's true. But I told y'all then that it was happening because the $250 million was directly for STEM programs, and it was for urban programs that was focused on STEM. It was not just HBCUs. PWIs were able to connect to that money also, right? Well, the problem is HBCUs only got $85 million out of that, and out of that $85 million, it came from the Disaster Act. I think it's the 1966 or 1967 Disaster Act, where you can't double dip into that fund. And that's how it's hurting HBCUs and not PWIs, because PWIs have more programs than they're not just HBCUs. They're not, even though we call them PWIs, that really is no such thing, right? There's no such thing as a PWI. We call it that to be nasty, pretty much, or to just put them where they should be. But the reality is, PWI is open for all races, all cultures, all communities, whereas HBCUs are designated universities. So designated universities, most of their money comes from the Disaster Act. And so they cannot double dip in that. So if your university received money from the Disaster Act, there is a chance you won't be able to get a lot of funding you normally get, including from the National Negro College Fund, Thurgood Marshall Fund. And these are programs that, especially on the East Coast, a lot of HBCUs receive over 50% of their funding from those programs. So it's going to really hurt. Thank God Texas Southern University missed out on the deadline because we were transitioning our president. They fired Dr. Lane, which I love you to death, Dr. Lane and Lady Lane. But thank God we were dealing with that, and we missed the date. So we didn't get any of the funding. So we're fine.
Y'all still have that option.
Oh, we're good. Prairie View good, too. Like, Texas good. Wiley College good, baby. Like, we good over here.
Well, I'm going to tell you what ain't good is how Trump is still ignoring this pandemic. That ain't good. Another thing that ain't good, they run around here with voter suppression. That ain't good.
Did you not? I just saw a picture of a man who was putting up a sign that said drop off box, and it was a trash can. It was a dump can. And the picture that they took of the man, he had more in his bag, and you could tell he was putting them all around downtown. Now, who mostly, in most cities are downtown? Us.
Urbans.
Yes. So I'm like, like,
us.
Why aren't these people going to jail? These people need to be in jail.
But California has really surprised me, but not surprisingly so, because California is so Democratic. So the Republicans in California are fighting back, like the Democrats in Texas are fighting back. Like they are really going out of their way to fight. Now, the difference in the Texas Democrats and the California Republicans is that we're doing it within the law. We're just getting people motivated, inspired, and initiating this movement. Whereas they've been doing the thing at the church where they had the fake voter drop off box. Then the guy set the voter thing on fire. The box drop off box on fire. But there's a voter suppression I think people are missing. On the black side, yeah, it was a black man, but I think he was paid. He was paid by white people.
I felt like he looked like he was homeless, and I could have seen somebody paying him or saying, like go burn that. And he probably he like
that was very Blexit. That was very Blexit.
No, but he looked like he was one of those people that's not in their right state of mind. You know how if you go downtown, you see a bunch of people that don't look like they, and you just give them something and be like, go do this, and they do it. So he looked like he was one of those. Which
he looked like an addict.
Yeah.
He looked like an addict. But the voter suppression that I've been running up on, and I know it's very uncomfortable to talk about this. I'm gonna talk about it more on my own social media platform so that it's not so connected to Truth to Power. But since the Truth to Power Uncut, I feel comfortable saying it. We have a voter suppression within the black community that we have to pay attention to also. That's the black guy though. He definitely looks like an addict. Yeah, a little late. We've already talked about it, but it's whatever. We good. But the other thing that I want to talk about with voter suppression is our ADOS, our Afro pessimists, and all of that. They're saying, don't vote. Why vote? You're wasting your time. Don't get in line voting. This and that. That's an in-house voter suppression, right? Because it comes from an ignorance. And I say ignorance sternly, and I can support it if any of my Afro pessimists, because I consider myself an Afro pessimist also, but I'm just an intelligent one, right? Because when you say that your vote doesn't count, and you look at the numbers of 2016 versus 2008, you can't help but be unintelligent if you believe your vote doesn't count. Now, you do have to take time out to learn how it works as far as electoral votes and popular votes so that you can understand it. But to say that it doesn't work is not fair. Another part is the way black heterosexual men they've been strategically attacked by the Republican Party, mainly Donald Trump's maneuvering to try and manipulate their mind to believe that they should be voting with Donald Trump because he cares more than Joe Biden. When in reality, they are literally boasting about what he's saying he's going to do as though he's not the sitting president.
Like he could have did that. He could still do it right now. Like you could literally, been signing all these executive orders anyway. You might as well go in and sign. You put your money where and he's not going to because that's gonna kill some people in his base. Because
he's already doing that now. Because just look at how he's ignoring this pandemic.
Oh, he completely ignored it.
His base don't care about this pandemic. I'm talking about. We all know his base. One thing about his base is, and one thing about many, and I clear cousins. One thing about them is, whenever you give black people, and that's why a lot of them. I wrote a status that said, when I see white people say I left the Democratic Party because I don't feel like I'm not welcomed anymore, it's because you're not being catered to. And what happens to a lot of our clear cousins is that they want to be the pride and joy of a party. And when you look at the Republican Party, they have the pride and joy over there. So for Donald Trump to even think about giving something to black people, they'll be like, oh, he's giving them another handout.
Yeah. Every customer wants to feel special. Every customer wants to feel special. And so I put a status up actually just today where I said that the Democratic Party messed up by applauding black women and acknowledging gay men, because that made black heterosexual men feel like they were left out of the picture. You're now because we're not allowed to rub our stomachs and walk at the same time. And how dare we try and hum a song in the meantime. So because of that ignorance that they're playing off, but remember what Donald Trump's base is uneducated white men and women, and it's uneducated black men. So that's really important to signal. The other part is Donald Trump could have written an executive order a long time ago if he cared about stimulus checks for y'all. Like he kept saying, I want to give more than Nancy Pelosi. She's fighting for 2.2. You're saying 1.8, now 1.9, but you're crying you want to give more than her. Can you not add people? If she said 2.2, he should be going 2.3.
And not only that,
they not look at the lives that
they don't read. They watch Donald Trump and they listen to what he says. And it's like if you
headline hoes.
If you just type in on your little smartphone that everybody got, because you got a computer walking around in your hand, walking around with you about $1,000. If you just go and you just type in, the Heroes Act and see how
they
much
don't realize it because they're on payment plans, so they don't realize it's 1,000. Keep going.
Okay, so then what about the Project Lincoln for the win?
I love Project.
What about Project Lincoln for the win?
Oh, Lincoln Project. I love Lincoln Project.
I love the Lincoln Project. Like,
because I would probably be a part of the Lincoln Project if I was still a Republican.
Right. I like them because to me, I feel like they are still those Republicans that are Republicans. Like I feel like I hear the Republicans in the party now calling them rhinos. I'm like, they're not rhinos. You're the rhino because you infiltrated a party and change the entire platform of that party. So if anybody is the rhino, it is you.
Okay, let me ask you guys this then. Mm-hmm. What about when Trump failed that 60-minute interview?
Oh, I think we have some footage of that. But wait a minute, I think it was. Is
this some footage of that?
Yeah. Well, I think that before that, we let's talk about this Mark Meadows thing because we do have some video. We do have some video about the Mark Meadows, and that's going to be really important. And that's going to lead us into that. Let's take a look at this Mark Meadows video with, I think it was Jake Tapper, and then we're going to unpack it.
Yeah.
Jake Tapper, hoe ass. Then we'll unpack it.
Anyone else has to continue on.
CDC guidelines.
Well, no, Jake, CDC guidelines does say essential personnel.
Yes, it says
they
wear a
mask
mask.
up,
if they wear a mask.
And I spoke to the vice president last night at midnight. And I can tell you that what he's doing is wearing a mask, socially distancing, and when he goes up to speak, he will take the mask off, put it back on. But he's wearing a mask as it relates to this particular thing because the doctors have advised him to do that. And so, Jake, when we start to look at this, here's where we really need to make sure. On your website yesterday, Jake, your website is talking about, well, now we think the spread is coming from small social groups and family groups. First it was large groups. Now it's small groups.
It's
now
coming from all sorts of places.
Well,
it's
that's
coming from
exactly,
all sorts of places
that's
because
exactly
the pandemic's out of control.
So here's what we have to do. We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigation
Why aren't we going to get control of the pandemic?
Because it is a contagious virus, just like the flu.
Yeah, but why not make efforts to contain it?
Well, we are making efforts to contain it.
By running all over the country not wearing a mask?
Jake,
that's what the vice president's doing.
We can get into the back and forth. Let me just say this. Is what we need to do is make sure that we have the proper mitigation factors, whether it's therapies or vaccines or treatments, to make sure that people don't die from this. But to suggest that we're going to actually quarantine all of America, lock down our economy.
No one's saying that.
Well, they are. Joe Biden's saying that. He says lock everybody down. We're going to have a dark winter. We're going to have a dark winter.
That's what health officials say. What health officials say, that it's going to get worse.
No,
we
that's
had the
Joe
two
Biden's
worst days.
Jake,
let's be honest. Infections, Friday and Saturday.
Let's be honest here.
Okay. First off, Meadows is lucky that we're so close to the election because I'm telling you, Donald Trump wants to fight. He has his trigger on the finger. His finger is on the trigger with him because he's messed up 3 times in a row now. Because I don't know if y'all remember when Donald Trump was in the hospital, he was the one that said, "Oh yeah, he's really sick.
Right?
They don't know what's going on with him." And Donald Trump is like, "No, tell him I'm good. Shut up." And so now here he is saying we're not going to control the pandemic.
Because they can't control it. They're not going to control it because they can't control it.
Being honest.
Now they want to be honest because they haven't been controlling this pandemic since they got here.
Yeah, Donald Trump is in the gutter right now for re-election. So right now his focus is on making sure that he gets reelected. The Republican Senate is on the verge of being crushed So they can't put their focus on this pandemic. That's why he said we can't control it. They can't control it because they don't have time to worry about it.
Yeah.
They don't have time to worry about it because the more they worry about it,
because they infected the whole White House over there.
You say what?
Yeah, but
I said because they cleared it out because they run around here infecting the whole White House over there and everything else.
Well, yeah.
Now, Dr. Matthews, that was a lot though, because in that same interview, we got I think we came in at the end of that part, but he actually what led into that was him saying that he did not want the media to find out about Mike Pence's staff. That's what led into that. He made it known, I didn't want them to alert the media. And at the time, there was 3 people in Mike Pence's administration. Now there's 6. So, yeah, it's 6 now.
Well, remember, we weren't supposed to know about Donald Trump either. So this is the second time that it's leaked.
He tried to make it like this pandemic was nothing but a hoax. And clearly, you didn't want to listen to science. You did not want to listen to the infrastructure that was given to you prior to this pandemic even getting here. So your thing was you wanted to try to make it to where the American people are not, scared and worried and all this here kind of stuff. And sir, you clearly failed as the leader of the United States.
And let's be honest, let's be clear. The reason why Mike Pence didn't even make it to the confirmation hearing yesterday is because Donald Trump knows this is something serious and he kept him away from it because that would have been a whole. First of all, nobody knows if Mike Pence has it, so it's like we got to keep you away from it.
Oh, y'all all had the mask on yesterday.
If it wasn't a big deal, Mike Pence would have been there too.
Well,
they had the mask on. They were socially distant. They were all of that good stuff. But what that pissed me off,
gave it away.
Yeah, but what pissed me off is that they went right back to the White House where the last super spreader came from when the announcement of Barrett. And so it was still like giving us their asses to kiss. But I think that the main thing with the whole Meadow shows how the whole administration has spiraled out of control, because he is correct. They're not going to get control of the pandemic. That's why we need an administration that will control the pandemic. And like Candace said, they refuse to listen to science and doctors. They intentionally fought against it, and Trump made it known he intentionally did it through the audio. Yeah, through the audio. He said, I don't want them to know.
But then listen to this. A lot of Trump's followers refuse to listen too. They refuse to wear masks. They refuse.
Well, they interviewed them. If you look at some of the rallies, I know CNN was big on it. They would ask people that was at the rally, would you wear a mask if he told you to? Yeah. They were like literally saying, yeah, I would wear a mask if he told me to. But it goes back to DeSantis giving high fives and then shaking hands with the president. Negro Spiritual from Georgia want to go body. Yeah, he want to go body rocking through.
Crowd surfing.
But I want to go back to the Lincoln Project, and I think we have some visuals of that, some of their campaigns, because the Lincoln Project is really showing the Democrats how low down and dirty the Republican Party fight. And that's something that I appreciate, because they're showing them you don't have to follow the rules because we don't. Watch this. And they're just breaking all kind of shit.
But that's why Republicans, that's how they play. Anyway, that's why they stay in seats for so long, because they know how to play dirty. And sometimes, Democrats kind of play pity patty, like when Michelle. I'm still upset about that, even though
I'm still bothered by that. And she just said this shit when her husband wasn't running no more. Right. She didn't come up with that when they go low, you go high, until they were no longer running for president. Okay, that she wasn't saying that in 2008. She wasn't saying in 2012. That started in 2016 when they set Hillary up. But that's okay, Hillary. History still got you, sis. You still the number one chick, baby. It's whatever. I'm always ride with the Rodman, okay? Okay. But let's go from that and let's go to the Trump. I think that we have footage for the Trump 60-minute interview. Yeah, because with that, yeah. Oh, here's the footage. That's what I was talking about from the Lincoln Project. I love this where they have Jared on funky. Oh, I said funky, not the curse word. Okay. But he said New Yorkers are going to suffer. These are direct quotes, guys. That's why they tried to sue. They tried to threaten to sue, but there was no way to sue because it was public data. He said that New Yorkers are going to suffer, and that's their problem. Now, the latest that he said, which I hope they throw that on the billboard in the hood, is when he said black people. It was just yesterday. He said that black people they're complaining, but they can't want more for them than they want for themselves.
They responsible for their own.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, everything that Donald Trump has in place could help them, but he can't want more for them than they want for themselves.
Yeah, they can't. Isn't that something?
Damn horrible.
As if black
right.
people, when it comes to unemployment, and when like I always say, when it comes to this country, and when this country goes through a toxic moment where unemployment skyrockets, African American unemployment skyrockets even more because we get pushed out first before our clear cousins.
Yeah, but we love, especially with black men. I've been having this argument so much, but I shut it down every time because I make them grab their phones and Google it, since that's what everybody likes to do now. When they say, well, prison reform, and I make it very clear. First off, the First Step Act did not start with Donald Trump. It started under Barack Obama, but that hoe-ass Republican Senate would not pass it. They passed it under Donald Trump, but he was not the president when it was created. Right. It was Barack Obama. But away from that, they have freed 3,000 people so far, but only 44 were black men. Are you serious? Can you add? Do you know simple mathematics? If you subtract 44, if you do the percentage of 44 people from 3,000, you're going to be like under 1%.
Under 1%. But people, again, that's what happens because people don't, when they Google, they don't Google correctly.
No.
Let's be clear. They don't Google correctly. And when the article comes up, they try to read the highlight part and they don't read deep into the article.
So, but the headline hoes.
You gotta be like, okay, go read paragraph 3.
Yeah, they want you to do it for them. Even on your page, though, like you'll find yourself arguing with a black man, and he'll say, "You gotta show me." No, nigga, you gotta go find it. You gotta go find it. How dare you tell me I have to show you? Oh, put the link under here. No, you go get the link. Get off your sorry ass. I know your wife just cooked you dinner, and I know your kids are running your bathwater, and tomorrow they're gonna set you up with a lot of applications because you're unemployed. But tonight you're gonna do some work. I'm not coddling no sorry niggas. Do the work. But wait a minute, before we go there, before we leave, we got to get into this 60-minute section.
Yeah,
so can we take a look at that?
Forever.
Yeah, we need to unpack that. Let's take a look at it.
I think we have enough. We have enough of it.
I think we're ready for the vice president now.
I think we have enough of an interview here. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Just be fair.
But last time I remember you saying to me, bring it on.
No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for fairness. That's all.
You're going to get fairness. But you're okay with some tough questions.
No, I'm not.
You're not okay with tough questions.
Well, I'm going to be fair. You don't ask Biden tough questions.
Me?
Huh?
I don't even.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
You don't want to lock up Governor Whitmer, but you want
when
to
lock
lock
up. When did I say lock her up? I never
the
said.
Bidens. You want to lock up.
Wait a minute. When did I say
Obama.
lock her up? When did I say lock up the governor? I didn't say lock up the governor.
All right, but you.
Why would I lock her up? No, but why did you say you don't want to lock up the governor? Of course I don't want to lock her up. Why would I lock her up?
Because you were in front of a rally of people saying it, encouraging it.
And get your schools open. Get your schools open. The schools have to be open, right? Lock them all up.
I never said it, Leslie. I never said lock
So you
up the
don't
governor.
want to lock up the governor.
Leslie, it's such a vicious thing you just said. I never said lock up the governor of Michigan. I would never say that.
You called Dr. Fauci and other health officials idiots. And
Dr. Fauci, when did I call him an idiot?
I'm wondering if you
When did I call him an idiot?
You called them idiots. I wonder if
Well, he's been wrong a lot. No
Tell
problem.
me then about these rallies you've been having.
A lot of people are wearing masks, and they're outside.
A lot of people aren't. I'm watching all these people jammed in together, and I'm seeing most of them without masks. And I'm wondering the message that you're sending with these pictures coming across.
Take a look. Yesterday, we were in Arizona, record-setting rallies, numbers of people like nobody's seen before.
Well,
many
you
many
used to have
masks. I
bigger
watched.
rallies.
What?
You used to have.
Oh boy, have a rally with 2,500 people. Say record numbers.
You remember Sean Spicer's first words as the press secretary was highest numbers ever. And that was a lot.
For
So,
them. That's
for
what
them.
they should say for us.
Right.
Highest numbers ever for us.
Trump said, lock them all up.
And he said it. Lock them up, lock them up. I
But
feel
he
like
just lies.
sometimes he forgets what he says when he's in front of people. I feel like
He doesn't forget.
I'm not gonna say I feel like he's like two different people sometimes. Like
He doesn't forget. This is just how he's made his career. His whole entire life has been a lie. This is the way he got millions and millions of dollars from banks, by lying. The way he manipulated the election in 2016, by lying. The way he acted like he didn't know his dad was sending those 20 men into his casino with $1 million each to bail him out when he was getting ready to go bankrupt. He lies, but that is just the way he builds his brand. And we are dumb enough to buy into it because we buy into luxury. We buy into what we think is better than us. So if you are better than me, I buy into you. If you're smarter than me, I want to be like you. If you make more money than me, I want to be like you, because that is the way the infrastructure of the United States is set up. Our society is conditioning us to always be in chase of something. And
Right.
Donald Trump is always there to give us something shiny to say that it is gold. And then when we grab it, we find out that it is actually silver.
I wouldn't even say silver.
What would you say?
It's that fake gold, the stuff that turn your neck green.
It's 24K from the flea market. The gold that's actually the color gold, like, oh, that's yellow gold. Okay.
Yeah, it's that gold. It's the gold that turn your neck green. You sit there like, what's going on? You just got sold. Just got sold. Fool. That's what that
This
is.
guy
But,
is so it's
I always
pathetic.
tell people Donald Trump is that oil salesman or that insurance salesman that sells you the insurance, and by the time you realize that you've been conned, he's already down the street. Like, I feel like that's the American people as a whole. Like, by the time Donald Trump is gone out of office, when Joe Biden steps into that office and sees all of the foolery or all of the crap that's been going on for the last 4 years, it's people. Yeah, it's going.
Donald Trump petty. Don't be surprised if on January 20th they'll show pictures of the White House and won't be no curtains, because he's gonna be saying, "Get my damn curtains down." I brought those curtains in here. Take my damn curtains down.
I've already put on my status that I wouldn't be surprised on the day of Joe Biden's inauguration, Donald Trump will be on a first plane out of here smoking.
Not even showing up.
Not even he getting out.
But you know what? But guys, we have to stop. But we have to stop normalizing him, and that's something that I get angry with the media on down, because we normalize. We say, "Well, he just lies," but that's not okay. You know, it's not okay. It's not good enough to say, "Oh, that's just a murderer. They just kill." You know, you can't just say that's just and keep it going, because that makes it okay. Because that's the reason Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton was the one that started it, being treated like shit, because we wanted them to be perfect, while we were normalizing everything that Donald Trump was doing. And that is simply not good. That's just one thing that is my takeaway from this whole election. We have to stop normalizing it. What happened with Nixon, the reason it was such a swift motion, because Republicans and Democrats both said we're not going to normalize doing wrong. But now Republicans are closing their eyes and Democrats are whispering.
They're trying to use the Nixon playbook.
Yeah.
He's trying to use Nixon's playbook.
But it's working, and that's the sad part.
That's because he's using it, but he's learned from it what to and what not. Okay, I got to make sure that I have, because I wouldn't be surprised if his Attorney General, Bill Barr, has, just like how J. Edgar Hoover used to get all of this dirt on politicians. That's why he kept power for so long. If he didn't use Bill Barr to be wiring stuff, that's why you got Lindsey Graham that's acting crazy. Cruz acting crazy. All these people that have wanted to chastise him before. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a folder full of dirt on both of them.
Yeah, well, Bill Barr is at what's next. Like, Bill Barr is literally, that's why he's been trying to get Bill Barr to mess with, just announce this fake investigation on Hunter Biden just to mess with their campaign. But Bill Barr is now, I think Barr is now at a place of he's going to lose, and now I have to start thinking about what's next. But I do want to make sure that we at least pay homage, and we'll talk about it more. And that is Walter Wallace Jr. in Philadelphia. That is a young man that was killed by the police officers on yesterday or day before yesterday. But this is it speaks deeply to why they say we need to defund police, because the number one reason of them saying that we need to defund police is because they're saying that they need to have mental mental health providers with them when they go to these places. Walter Wallace was actually a mental patient, and he was having a moment and he was spiraling out. So we want to make sure that people understand that we have to pay attention to these things. And I don't know how this is going to unravel. I pray that it's better. But we do want to make sure that we at least speak his name, because this young man, they were screaming he had a knife, and they have close-up video. This man had his hands up, although he was crazy. He was like in a rage, and he was running toward the police, but his hands were up. He had absolutely nothing in his hands. They tried to lie and say he had a knife, because that's what they do to us. They feel like if they say we have a weapon or we have a background, then they can slow us down. But then Walter Wallace was something.
It turns the tides for many white people over. And they have this mindset that, okay, he was a bad person or he was an animal. Once they start digging stuff up, and it never fails. I always tell people that when a black person dies, the first thing that the media goes looking for is, did he have a background? What did he do? What was his previous record? And it's sad. It's a sad situation. It's a sad cycle that we continue to see over. Rest in peace, Walter Wallace Jr., Philadelphia. In
front of his mother, right? His mother was screaming. She could have gotten shot. She was so close to him that they could have shot her, actually.
The sad thing is that with all of the technology and with all of the cameras, they still managed to try to lie. To falsify police.
They still try to lie. And shout out to those, a huge shout out to the people in that community, because they had everybody had cameras out, and they all sent their footage, and that's how they got it. They got every angle, and it was very close up, so they were not able, those lies were not able, but you're right, they tried to lie, and the community came out. So hashtag Walter Wallace Jr., also hashtag NSARSTX, and hashtag NSARS, because we are really going to be talking about that a lot. And hashtag T2P Uncut. We want to make sure that y'all are using these hashtags. So use them as much as you can, because we want to make sure we get the word out. Again, that's hashtag T2P Uncut. Hashtag no justice. Hashtag no peace. Hashtag end SARS, SARS, and hashtag end SARS TX. And of course, hashtag we say no to police brutality, and hashtag Walter Wallace Jr. Yeah, it's crazy that we're living in this moment, and it's like as soon as you have a chance where you feel like you can celebrate, something else happens. And I'm like, can we get to November 3rd without another black man being killed by a police officer?
November 3rd, I'm real not on edge, but I'm trying to, because I'm like, with us winning this election, what are these Trump supporters going to be like? Because right now they're already doing crazy stuff. They're burning ballots. They're burning, They're
desperate. They're desperate.
So So with the election happening and it not swinging their way, I'm hoping that everybody stays safe that night. Go out in pairs. If you're celebrating, be vigilant of your surroundings.
Yeah.
Because I wrote an article about this, but when for some reason when white people don't get their way, especially white extremists, when they don't get their way, they do everything possible.
But they making threats now.
Yeah, they do everything possible to hurt people. Like I told people, when in the 1800s, when black people won all of those seats in the South as governors, lieutenant governors, congressmen, state Congress representatives, state senators, those white folks killed them and had a special election and dared the black people to come out and vote or run against them, and they would kill them too. So people say, and that's why I'm always like, black people talking about my vote don't count. It stems from that. It's a generational thing, because at one point in time we did get out and vote in the masses, and when we voted for the people that we wanted and they won, these people came right behind us and killed all of those people.
Yeah.
And
I told a young lady to one of my former students, I told her today when she's very anti everything and she hate Joe Biden, she hate every white man on earth, she want them all dead. But I told her, I said, it's just like this, baby. We vote, he lose, Joe Biden's just president out of default. Don't get caught up on the default winner. We vote, he lose. So good versus evil is the point right now. So I want to encourage everyone to vote, encourage someone to vote, encourage your daddy, your brother, your uncle, your mom, anybody. Encourage them to vote. Go with them. Go with them. Make them feel comfortable. Make them feel satisfied. Make them feel satisfied with their vote. Make sure they understand that it is important that they feel good about their vote because it is more than just a trend. It is literally, we are creating the trajectory of our world right now. So our lives depend on this. Another 4 years with this guy will be pandemonium because it will only get worse because it will be completely out of control. And he's already made hints of trying to make it pretty much a monarch. So we have to get control of this. Doc, I know you have a quote for us. I've been trying to hold it down when you're not with us. I try and give us a little quote, but you know, all I do is James Baldwin because I'm a black baby.
I'm just gonna keep it simple, but it's powerful at the same time. And it's like the time is always right to do what is right. So I'm gonna say it again. The time is always right to do what is right.
I love that. I've never heard that one.
And that is, it may be simple, but it's powerful at the same time. Because again, you know, it's always the right time to do what's right.
Yeah.
It's always the right time. And this fits this whole deal, what we've been talking about today, because
I've never heard that one. I love that.
Yeah, Martin Luther King had some stuff.
You know, I still have some battles at night by Martin, but I mean, I like them.
All right, guys.
Let's go in. Let's go get out of here.
Share this live, guys. Share.
Shout out to the parents of the Palestinian children that Barack Obama was killing. Yeah. Shout out.
What
he was dropping bombs over Palestine. Yeah, killing those kids. We'll talk about that another day. See, y'all ain't ready for these conversations. Come on, get me out of here. I'm about to leave.
I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
And that little girl was me.